Attack on Saudi oil facilities, 2019. In the early hours of September 14, 2019, a series of meticulously coordinated drone and missile attacks struck at the heart of Saudi Arabia's oil industry, crippling the world's largest crude processing facility at al-Assad and the Kurais oil field. The explosions sent plumes of fire and smoke into the sky, knocking out half of Saudi Arabia's oil production, equivalent to 5% of global oil supply, and sending shockwaves through global energy markets. But behind the chaos and destruction lay a carefully calculated operation orchestrated by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, a demonstration of Tehran's willingness to escalate tensions and strike deep into the heart of its adversaries' economic lifelines. For the IRGC, the attack on Saudi oil facilities was not just about crippling Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure. It was a strategic message to the world that Iran was prepared to retaliate against U.S. sanctions and regional isolation with devastating consequences. The seeds of the attack were sown in 2018 when the Trump administration withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal and reimposed crippling sanctions on Tehran under the maximum pressure campaign. The sanctions choked Iran's economy, slashing its oil exports and depriving the regime of vital revenue. Faced with mounting economic hardship and diplomatic isolation, Iran turned to the IRGC to devise a strategy of maximum resistance, a campaign that would leverage asymmetric warfare, cyber attacks, and regional proxies to counter U.S. pressure and destabilize the Gulf. By mid-2019, the IRGC had already conducted a series of provocations in the Persian Gulf, including the seizure of the British oil tanker Stena Impero, the sabotage of commercial vessels near the Strait of Hormuz, and the downing of a U.S. surveillance drone. But the attack on Saudi oil facilities was an entirely different level of escalation. It was a direct strike on Saudi Arabia's economic heart and a calculated act of economic warfare that demonstrated Iran's ability to destabilize global markets and impose costs on its adversaries. The operation was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare, executed with precision and plausible deniability. U.S. and Saudi intelligence agencies later concluded that the attack originated from Iranian territory, with IRGC operatives using a combination of advanced drones and cruise missiles to bypass Saudi Arabia's sophisticated air defenses. The drones and missiles flew low and used complex flight paths to evade detection, striking with pinpoint accuracy at critical points within the al-Assad and Kurais facilities. The scale of the damage was unprecedented. Saudi Arabia was forced to cut its oil production by 5.7 million barrels per day, causing oil prices to surge by nearly 20% in the immediate aftermath. The IRGC's fingerprints were all over the attack. The sophisticated weaponry used in the operation bore striking similarities to Iranian-manufactured drones and missiles, including the Quds-1 cruise missile and the UAV-X drone, both of which had been used by Iran's proxy forces in Yemen and Iraq. While the Houthi rebels in Yemen claimed responsibility for the attack, few believed that the group possessed the technical capabilities to carry out such a complex operation. The IRGC had effectively used the Houthis as a cover, allowing Tehran to maintain plausible deniability while signaling its ability to project power deep into enemy territory. The choice of targets was no coincidence. al-Assad, located in Saudi Arabia's eastern province, is the world's largest crude oil processing facility, capable of processing more than 7 million barrels of oil per day. Kurais, another vital oil installation, produces 1.5 million barrels per day. By striking these facilities, the IRGC targeted the economic lifeblood of Saudi Arabia, a move designed to inflict maximum economic pain and demonstrate Iran's capacity to destabilize global oil markets. The message was clear. If Iran's oil exports were blocked, it could, and would, disrupt the world's energy supply. The attack on Saudi oil facilities was not just about punishing Riyadh. It was a calculated move to change the strategic calculus in the region. Iran's leadership, guided by the IRGC, believed that by demonstrating its ability to wreak havoc on global markets, it could force the United States and its Gulf allies to reconsider their hardline policies and bring Tehran back to the negotiating table on more favorable terms. The IRGC's strategy was rooted in the belief that economic pain, coupled with the threat of further escalation, would compel Washington to ease sanctions and engage in diplomacy. But the attack also served a broader geopolitical purpose. By striking Saudi Arabia, Iran was sending a message to its regional rivals, particularly Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, that Tehran's reach extended deep into the kingdom's territory. The IRGC's operation demonstrated that Saudi Arabia, despite its massive defense budget and state-of-the-art U.S.-supplied air defense systems, was vulnerable to Iran's asymmetric capabilities. The attack shattered the perception of Saudi invulnerability and exposed the limitations of U.S. protection, sending shockwaves through the Gulf and prompting Riyadh to reevaluate its security posture. The aftermath of the attack saw an outpouring of condemnation from the international community, with the United States and its allies pointing the finger squarely at Iran. President Donald Trump initially stopped short of launching a military response but imposed additional sanctions on Iran's banking and oil sectors, further tightening the economic noose around Tehran. The Trump administration also bolstered U.S. troop deployments in the Gulf and announced plans to enhance Saudi Arabia's missile defense systems, but these measures did little to alter Iran's strategic calculus. For the IRGC, the attack on Saudi oil facilities was a resounding success. The operation demonstrated Iran's ability to bypass sophisticated defense systems, disrupt global markets, and impose costs on its adversaries, all without provoking a full-scale military response. The IRGC had not only delivered a devastating blow to Saudi Arabia, but had also exposed the vulnerabilities of U.S. and allied forces in the region. However, the attack also carried significant risks. While Iran managed to avoid immediate retaliation, the operation heightened tensions in the Gulf and brought the region perilously close to the brink of war. The IRGC's actions further isolated Iran diplomatically, strengthening the resolve of the United States and its Gulf allies to confront Iranian aggression. Moreover, the attack on Saudi oil facilities deepened fears among Gulf states that they were vulnerable to Iranian asymmetric tactics, leading to increased military spending and closer security ties with Washington. Despite these risks, the IRGC remained undeterred. The attack on Saudi oil facilities was a demonstration of Iran's strategic doctrine, using asymmetric warfare, proxies, and deniability to achieve its objectives without provoking a direct military confrontation. For Iran, the operation was a reminder that in the complex and volatile landscape of the Middle East, Tehran's influence extended far beyond its borders, and its capacity to shape events was unmatched. The attack on Abqaiq and Quraysh was not just a one-time act of aggression. It was a calculated maneuver by the IRGC to reshape the balance of power in the Gulf, weaken its adversaries, and force the world to acknowledge Iran's role as a key player in the region's security architecture. Through its bold and audacious strike, the IRGC had once again proven that Iran's reach was long, its capabilities were formidable, and its willingness to escalate was boundless.